Welcome to my super professional and highly cliche video filmed in a car while driving to an unknown location. I have been so incredibly busy, and I was supposed to film my video last night because yesterday was my weigh-in day, and I got home. My boyfriend had dinner already prepared, so we sat down and we ate, and after dinner I just got this wave of like feeling absolutely exhausted, and I think it's just due to not getting enough sleep the last few days. It has been really difficult for me to get to bed on time. I'm not really sure why. I do know that I'm scrolling through my phone more than I should be. When I stop that habit, I go to bed a little earlier. I need to get my bedtime routine down again. 3 nights in a row, I've just felt like I've woken up and I've not had enough good sleep. So I figured I'm on the road for about 45 minutes today. Why not film my video now? This is probably why people film in their cars all the time. When else do you have time when you're just sitting there not doing anything? So I apologize for the quality and for the clichéness of this video, but I do want to get an update in terms of my weigh-in and how week 5 went. I am now on week 6. That's insane to me when I think about it. I have 3 weeks left until surgery. Less than technically now. So I'm going to throw the stats somewhere up in here because I have no idea how I'm going to edit this later. I started the pre-op diet at 374 pounds and I weighed in last week at 356.8 pounds, and I weighed in yesterday morning at 352.2 pounds. So that's a 4.6 pound loss for the week and a 21.8 loss total so far on the pre-op diet. I was really excited about my 4.6 pound loss. I think around week 2 or 3 I had mentioned that I was kind of secretly hoping that I could lose maybe 5 pounds a week on the pre-op diet. I didn't really have a good frame of reference for that, but I just kind of felt like maybe I could do that based off of other times that I've lost weight in my life and how little food and food groups I can eat on this pre-op diet. So it felt like it was a potentially attainable goal. And then I've been all over the place every week that I weigh in. I mean, week 1 was 10 pounds, but that's water weight, and that's to be expected, especially when you go on a low carb diet. And then it's just been sort of fluctuating around between somewhat reasonable expected amounts of weight loss and 1 pound. So who knows? I've been keeping track of my macros. I've been looking at everything, and I don't really have a good answer. And in all honesty, this is probably really good for me to realize that there's not necessarily going to be a rhyme or reason to weight loss. I have learned that lesson before, but it's still really hard to grasp and like really internalize that some weeks are just not going to make any sense as to why you're not losing very much weight. The goal is consistency. That's the goal. If you're consistent, when you look at, let's say, a graph overall of your weight loss, you'll see that you trend downward, and that's the important part. I just realized that if anybody looks into my car, they can see I'm filming a video. Is this what YouTubers feel like? Is it weird or normal to them? Ultimately, what I need to do is just do what I'm doing. The nutritionist told me not to worry so much about macros and things like that, and to just focus on eating 3 meals a day within the pre-op diet. And I've been doing that, but I have also been paying attention to macros just because I like to know big picture stuff. But the problem is aside from just wanting to know big picture stuff, I'm over here scrutinizing everything I'm doing every week as to whether or not I ate a few grams extra carbs or a few grams extra fat that threw off my weight loss. And ultimately, I don't think it matters. I crunched some numbers, and I need to lose less than 10 pounds before I will be under a 60 BMI, which will give me a bit of a discount on my surgery because I am considered a high BMI, and they charge a little bit extra for higher BMIs just because it is slightly more of a complicated and longer surgery. That's been the goal for the whole time for me, is to get down to a reasonable BMI. Losing a chunk of weight before surgery just increases your odds of success all around, and increases your ability to heal well from surgery. There's a lot of benefits, and so I've been hoping that I could lose a chunk of weight and maybe get into a 59 BMI before surgery. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing and doing the best that I can. If I reach that, then that's fantastic. But if I don't, I'm not going to beat myself up over it, because I know that I have been doing the pre-op diet to the best of my abilities, and I've lost a good amount of weight already. So, you know, would I love to get under a 60 BMI? Absolutely, that's my goal. But any weight loss before surgery, I consider this a success. What if I catch my road rage on video and then I have to watch it back and be really disappointed in myself? Why did you pass me? Why did you do that? In terms of just a general, how did week 5 go? I actually don't really have much to report. I think the biggest thing to report is just that it's so easy for me now. It is insane, the difference between, you know, week 1 and 2 and week 5. It takes no real thought for me to put a meal together anymore. I feel like I don't have to be quite as planned for like dinners as I did in the beginning, where I had to list out a bunch of things that were possibilities and, you know, make sure that I had everything figured out in terms of what I could do to throw something together after work. And now I'm finding that I'm comfortable enough with everything, and I don't have any real desires for anything in particular, that I can just come home and throw something together for dinner. And that's what I did a lot this week. I really just sort of came home and said, okay, well, I've got some rotisserie chicken, so I'm going to make a wrap. And I guess I just don't put so much emphasis on trying to switch things up anymore. It's just so much easier. I think the big thing here is that I am learning to switch my mind over from food as something pleasurable to eat versus food that just fuels my body. Again, I've said this a couple times, when you take the pleasure out of eating, you find a lot of different stuff out, and that's what I feel like I've done. It's not like I don't enjoy the flavors and enjoy the food that I'm eating, but I took all the fun out of eating the nasty, gross food that made me feel like crap but would give me a quick endorphin rush. Start releasing that dopamine. So ultimately it just becomes what's available that I can fuel my body for tonight, and then move on to the other things that I need to do. I'll tell you right now, that is amazing. If I could pick one other thing that has been the biggest, most amazing thing that I've gained out of this pre-op, it would be that mentality so far. Because post-op, that's going to mean so much. Post-op takes just as much discipline as this. Post-op, you have to focus on nutritional foods, because your body cannot hold that much at a time. When I start going to solid foods, it's recommended that you eat no more than 6 ounces at a time. And I imagine very early post-op, I won't even be able to get 6 ounces down. That's very common that I see. So when you can't eat very much at a time, and you have a malabsorptive procedure where you're not going to take as much nutrients from what you eat, you have to be very careful about what you put in your body. You need to focus on foods that are nutritious. And I've come to the conclusion that this is a big reason why they have people on the pre-op diet. I think, yes, it does add in shrinking your liver, and yes, it does help you lose weight before surgery, which are all things that are important for surgery, but also I think that it really gets you in the right mindset. In some ways, I almost feel like people who have 1 or 2 weeks of pre-op diet just aren't going to get the benefits that I'm seeing of being mentally prepared for what life is going to be like long term. If I've learned anything from all of the research that I've done throughout this whole process, it's been that being mentally prepared is probably the most important part of this process. The people that I see give warnings online about how they didn't prepare themselves mentally enough and then gained weight later and were not successful after their surgery. Those are real. Those people are all over the place, and they give warnings a lot on the different support forums and YouTube videos and things that I've seen. It is so important to mentally get yourself in the right position, because the things that got me here to where I am now don't get fixed with surgery. The mental portions don't get fixed with surgery. So the fact that it's so easy now for me to just breeze through a week on the pre-op diet without really thinking about other food or struggling to put anything together, I think really is a testament to how it's allowing my brain and my brain chemistry to change. And I'm hoping that that sticks with me post-op, and that I can continue to look at food as more of a fuel and something that helps my body go, rather than something to constantly be thinking about and working towards and giving into craving. Start releasing that dopamine. The other thing that I really noticed in week 5 is that it went by really fast. Like, really fast. I feel like I blinked and all of a sudden I was starting week 6. So that means that the next 3 weeks are probably going to go by really fast, especially because I have my birthday and Thanksgiving mixed in there. It's just going to feel like there's absolutely no time until my surgery. I've just now started to get these little bouts of like excited nervousness. I'll be sitting there and I'll realize how close the surgery is, and I'll get really excited, but also really nervous about it. I think the nervousness is to be expected going through surgery. I have been through surgery before. I've been put under multiple times in my life, so that part is not giving me a lot of anxiety or anything, but just the act of going through surgery, I don't enjoy. I'm just nervous about it in general. I mean, going into this, it is a permanent change to my body. I have to be prepared for the fact that that's what I'm going through. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really nervous about traveling right now. COVID cases are not good. COVID cases are not good. And the idea of traveling through a couple of different airports, I'm not worried about when I get there. Once we get to Tijuana, we're going to the hospital. And everyone says that they've been clean and careful and doing the best that they can when it comes to the pandemic. I'm not really worried about the Mexico portion of my trip at all. So really, I mean, not a lot of updates at this point. I am just super impressed and super grateful for how easy this process is becoming right now. And I imagine that things are just gonna get easier and move faster and faster. And November 30th is when I fly out, and then surgery is on December 1st. So really, I'm just looking at the end of this month. Thanks for bearing with my road video, and I hope this was a decent update. I know that there's probably a lot going on. There's probably a lot of sound. As we get closer to the surgery date, I'll probably release a couple more videos about how I'm preparing to leave, and maybe even the difference between gastric bypass and gastric sleeve, and why I chose bypass over the sleeve option, and just a couple other things aside from food. So if any of that sounds interesting, or you want to continue to watch and support my journey, please click subscribe, stick around, and we'll see how everything goes for the next 3 weeks. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. Who drives a Honda CR-V with